How's it going? Okay, here's my take on why it's not so easy to just look at people who've harmed us in the past and say, well, I don't really care what they think. Because there's parts of you that care what they think, okay? And logically, you can say, oh, well, my parents didn't validate me and they didn't listen to me and they didn't understand me and they yelled at me and they hurt me and they mocked me and they abandoned me and they rejected me and they made me feel bad about myself. So I don't care. They can go screw off. Well, yes, they can go screw off. And also no, because they came from a time where they didn't have as much, information, as many tools as we have now to heal. So they were traumatized because generational trauma is from the generation. So it's not like they meant to do anything. They thought what they were doing was right. Just like we think what we're doing is right. And maybe our children will tell us that we messed up too. We're trying to figure it out now and change it so that we don't perpetuate the generational trauma. Okay. But logically, it's easy to say, oh, I shouldn't try to get validation or from people who weren't very self-aware and who are narcissistic and toxic masculine and all that. And that's true. But you have parts of you, very young parts, little inner young children that are very vulnerable and were vulnerable and still are vulnerable, that seek out that same kind of love in partners and friends and bosses, who to try to get the love that you didn't get when you were little. So you're still abandoning yourself and rejecting yourself to try to get other people to love you the way your parents and caregivers should have loved you. Okay? And so trauma recovery involves healing those young parts that were affected by the trauma and integrating them into so that you're a whole unit and you have your emotional side and your logical side. And then once your emotional side is calmed down, your logical side can take over and say, I really don't need to try to get validation from my parents or people anymore who couldn't see me or hear me or understand me and who, have outdated ways of looking at life and aren't going to change now and who are not self-aware or very wise inside themselves. But you can do that only after your emotional side of you, your parts, subconscious programming is changed, calmed down, relaxed. And so it's easier said than done to say, I'm not going to care about what people think. But also, it's not easier said than done because you can get help for this, and you can change this so that you're not pushing that along to your children and their children. So if you need help with generational trauma so that you do not perpetuate it, let me know.